So you've talked about being naturally funny growing up. Particularly in Chicago, you grew up, and I'm sure there was a lot of people that you were around growing up that might have been funny also. How does that upbringing that you had, how does that influence your comedy today?
I would say pretty much just because the way I grew up and me experiencing I have so many different family members. Like my family is huge. My grandma on my mom's side had like 10 kids, and everybody had like 3 to 4 kids after that. So I have tons of cousins. And then also on my dad's side, my grandma over there had like 6 kids, and then everybody over there had kids. So on both sides, I have big families. So like all of my inspiration either comes from like different individuals in my family or just like life itself. Me growing up with many different characters of like just like friends, just because like I was like type of kid you couldn't really put in the box in school. I wasn't nor the jock geeky. I would say I was kind of like everything in one. So like I was cool with everybody. So I had I was able to experience all different facets of life growing up through school, through family, and just everyday nuances.
Yeah. Yeah, I was watching another interview you did, and you were talking about how, just living life is how you get these
Mhm.
stories and these comedy sketches. And you mentioned, having a love for music and singing and drawing and photography. How has those interests helped, shape your perspective on your comedy?
I would say just because every single, I guess, creative hobby that I do have, they are, in a sense, feeding my content that I put online. In the small, I shouldn't say in the smallest way, but in a sense, in the smallest way. So like if I'm not like let's just say like right now, if I'm not really into like just like posting as much as I want to, I'll take a break from online and then I'll go into let's just say my photography for the next week or so and not really worry about the online scene and posting, and then that will give me different ideas in a way because I'm not so bombarded with other people's content or just like little things that you will see online on Instagram, on TikTok, where like it can cloud my creative mind. So then at the same time, I'm not number one stealing from other people. It's all organic. And then at the same time, I'm able to come up with my own ideas, like straight off the dome, straight from me. So then I don't have to be like, crap, what did so and so put in his videos? I kind of want to do that. No, it's all coming straight from me. It's all my own creative process and how I post.
It's so interesting to me. Like it's like all black people live this same life. Like we've all seen the guy who comes back to the job after having not worked there, and it's like I used to
Hmm.
work. We've all seen the I used to work here guy. And so like
Yep.
what's so how when did you recognize that we've all had these same experiences, and but you found the humor in it?
I think, in a sense, again, growing up, I think we all look at each other and try to impress one another. And I think through that, I was able to kind of like think like, bro, we all doing the same stuff. Like we all like a little weird. Like we all, honestly, all of us are all like very weird in our own way, but all in the same way at the same time. So like, would I'll sit at home. I was having a conversation with one of my cousins, and I was like, I forgot what I said, what I did in bed. I was like, oh, that's what I said. I was like, you ever like sat in bed and you get like super excited just for like out of the blue, just because it's cold, like you get cold, you like in your blanket, you just start getting like jitters. We'd be like, you know what I'm saying? And he was like, wait, I thought it was just me. And I was like, bro, I feel like everybody does like all the same stuff. So like back then that kind of gave me the idea to kind of tap into that. Um, Now granted, I always sent videos to between me and my brothers. So me making skit form type videos is never like out of the blue for me just because I've always kind of done that me and my brothers, we would all just send them back and forth. So me just like implementing, I guess, like everyday life nuances was slightly different just because like my skit forms before was a tad bit different than what they are like now.
What was that moment where you realized that TikTok, could be more than just a hobby, but for real to your brand, and you can make real money over here?
I think it was more so again the money, but besides obviously besides the money, because before that I would probably have to say building a community, and not only the black community, but also a community that stretches um beyond the bounds of just like America. Because for me, when I got on TikTok, I thought my reach was just like first just like black, and then I started seeing like it was so many other different races, and I'm like, oh, okay, we touching in the U.S. And
Yeah,
then all
yeah,
of a sudden I look at there's people like, I'm from Germany, I love your stuff. I'm like, Germany
yeah, yeah,
or Russia, and you know what I'm saying, China. I'm like, I don't even know that my stuff can stretch that far, or people can relate, you know, to something like that. That's I would think that's just like a U.S. thing. People around the world can relate as well. So that's when I knew, like, okay, this can kind of be a little bit not only like I can make money off this, but I think in a sense it helps bring people together from different walks of life and different people across the planet. That, there's so many wars going on, so you may
yeah.
think like something so small as, I guess, the comedy that I do could bring people together through just something so simple.
Yeah, and speaking, I mean, you've built this huge following on TikTok, 6.6 million on TikTok, a million on Instagram. When you think about the big is that as big an audience as you've built, how do you think about creating these skits? Like, how do you say, what, this one will work? I'm not going to do that one. That one I thought was a good idea, but that one's not going to make it to the timeline. Like, how do you think through what's going to make it to your feed and what's not?
Um, just time, and honestly, I don't. Whatever idea that I do have, I just post it. That's what I will say. For any creator, if you do have a idea, just post it. It don't hurt. But I have taken down a couple videos if they don't. Not saying like, oh, if they don't hit, because obviously the algorithm, things happen. Not every video realistically is going to do good. That's just you just got to keep that 100 with yourself. Like every video I know it's not gonna be as big as the last video that I posted, or one video may do way better than the video I posted before. So keeping that in mind. But for me, I never just fully scrap an idea. What I'll do is that, okay, I'll take it down. Maybe it's not received in a way that I wanted it to, so I'll take it down and then just rework it. So if I ever like take down a video, I never like just like delete it out and you won't see the video again. I'll maybe add it to another video that I'm already planning on recording in a way, so then it's kind of like two videos in one.
Yeah. Talk to me about the process. It seems like you have a real process. Is this like, is there a DeMarcus journal somewhere that's like you sketching ideas while you on your way to the grocery store? Like how does this, what's the actual process you use?
You know, it's crazy. I honestly don't. It sounds like I have a full on process. I think my process is kind of just letting things go with the flow. But I don't have a journal. I don't write down nothing. The most I will write down is if I'm out and about and I'm doing something where I can't fully record directly at the moment. I'll
Oh, so
kind of
you're
write
typically
down.
recording right then.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
wow.
go straight out the dome. So as soon as I get the idea, I try to record it.
Wow.
Yeah, so most of the time I don't really write down stuff just because I feel like over time it takes away from the feeling that I actually want to portray in the video. And then I have to think back to, crap, how was like, what
Yeah,
did I want to
yeah.
do in the video? How did I want to say this? And then if I do record it, you know what I'm saying, later on, it don't come out as authentic as I wanted it to, or as good. And then I'm trying to perfect it. And then for my videos, again, I don't know about anybody else. I'm a imperfect perfectionist, if that makes sense. So I love that my videos, like, I stumble around a lot. Like, most of my videos is kind of like one takes.
Wow.
At the most, maybe 2 to 3, but that's if I like remember something where I'm like, crap, I was supposed to say this. But for the most part, most of my videos are one takes, just because I want them to be very natural as humans speak. You know, human speech, we stumble around, we may pause for a second and then gather ourselves and stuff like that. So I want that to be portrayed on the video. So then when people are watching, they was like, oh my God, the pause is so real. Or you stumble around is really what they always do. You know, for people, they're able to connect to the realistic style of human beings instead
Yeah.
of just like a regular skit that's perfect all the way through.
Was that like an insight you had after having, you know, messed up a couple of times and you was like, you know what, let me just run with it? Or was it like very intentional, like, I'm doing this one take and we gonna go?
No, I would say it kind of developed over time. The more, because when I first started doing skits, I tried to make sure they was kind of like perfect. And then I think I stumbled on a couple and I just like left them in. I got lazy. I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going. I don't feel like going back to record this. But I noticed that people actually like that form of recording, um, because it helps them to connect to the skit. It helps them to connect and know that every single person is, in a sense, the same. So that's the way I like to record. Again, there's a lot other, TikTokers and influencers that like the perfect. I can't really go that route just because it don't match up with me. I like, even in some of my texts when I write it on the screen, I'm a very fast like person when I in terms of like texting and stuff. So like I'll text it out, or I mean I'll type it out for the text overlay, and then I'll post it. And then I'll look back at it. I'm missing words. I'm messing up the how to spell the words and
Yeah, yeah,
everything. That everybody's like, you're missing a word,
yeah,
or
yeah.
you put there instead of there with
Right,
an e.
right.
It's like, bro, I type all that stuff very quickly. I don't look back at it. I just type post.
Yeah, yeah.
So now, like, it kind of goes in with the way my brain works.
Did that, did that. I mean, you've seen success, you know, with the creators fund, brand deals, you know, other revenue streams. Share how, you know, creators can more effectively monetize their content on platforms like TikTok. Like, what are some of the things that we need to be conscious of if we want to
Mhm.
build not just the following, but a monetizable following?
I would say first focus on the how long you want your videos to be. So like me, when I first started, my videos were less than a minute. Now I kind of try to stretch it to be either a minute or a tad bit over. But in the beginning,
Why is that? Why is
any
that?
video could,
What is the
huh?
length? Why does the length matter?
Just because now on TikTok, I don't know about this on Instagram, but now on TikTok, your videos have to be a minute to get monetized. So if your videos aren't a minute, you can't really monetize. Back in the day when TikTok, well, back in the day, 2020, in 2020 when I in 2020 when I was doing everything, it didn't have to be a minute, you know. So that was, for a lot of creators, that was a change, just because it seems so small. Like, let's just say like your videos is always like 40 seconds. Putting that extra, you know what I'm saying, 10 to 20 to 15 seconds on there, it's in your mind, you're like, oh, that's easy. Doing it is the
Yeah,
hardest part, because then you're like, crap, I don't know what to say at that point.
yeah,
So I would say focus on the length, focus on what you want to record, and I would say try to film your videos in a way that's for you. don't try to focus on so much of like the audience or a fan base or a supporter base first, just because I feel like a lot of, I was just telling the girl this literally like 2 days ago. I did a panel and she was like, "Yeah, I've been trying to record and I'm trying to get my following up." But she was like, "It's always so awkward because I when I record because I'm not used to recording myself." And I was like, "That's because you focusing on the following, you focusing on the
Mm,
camera that's right there. You literally record it. If you were recording yourself just for you, you'll be natural."
mm-hmm.
So if you're doing that, it's going to come across better on screen when somebody's watching it, and that's going to make them gravitate towards you to just start following. That's how you build a community. People are going to be like, "Oh, he's just supernatural with it. I feel like I'm actually talking to him. I feel like we're on FaceTime together. I feel like my online cousin, online brother." So do that, and then after that you will gain success from that, and then you will be able to monetize it.
No, that you've built again 6.6 million plus and growing on TikTok, a million and growing on IG, and you've clearly found a way to resonate on both platforms, which is not always easy for a lot of people, because those algorithms are different. What the
Yeah.
platforms want is different. How have you found success on both? Like, what does TikTok want from you differently than Instagram wants from you, and vice versa?
I just noticed that my audience is different on both. Whereas when I first started, I thought they were kind of the same. But on each platform or each app, every audience that you gain will be slightly different or totally different. I noticed that on my Instagram, it is slightly more mature than my TikTok, where TikTok is, I wouldn't say I have kids. I do have kids on TikTok, but it's more where it's kind of like, I would say like 16 to like 30
Yeah.
or like 35. In between there, that's my main um I would say age range. On Instagram, it's very wide range, but there's a key focus on like 25 to like 40
Okay.
range for my age range on there. Both again, so both of them are pretty similar in terms of the age range as a wide span, but the key focus points are very different. So just knowing how that works is a little bit weird for me. I'm still trying to get used to it, but I guess I resonate with both. So
Yeah, I was just thinking about something you said a minute ago about how they added another 20 seconds on, like, some people who
Mhm.
were doing 40-second videos now gotta do a minute video, and that's not easy for
Yeah.
everybody. And I think about, they kind of separate people who really do this from people who can kind of do it, and so I
Mhm.
wonder your perspective on that 20 seconds. If I'm used to doing 40-second videos, I may not be 60-second funny. I may be 40
Mhm.
second funny. And so
Mhm.
they kind of separate the people who really about it versus the people who can kind of, be about it. So I
Mhm.
just wanted your thoughts on how people translate to adding more time on, like what kind of things people are doing to help people be able to get that time. And not just because you can't just fill the time and be good.
Mhm.
It has to be
Yeah.
moving the conversation forward, or it has to be more
Exactly.
funny. And so talk to
Mhm.
me about your thoughts there.
So if you're doing, let's just say, skits like me, you know what I'm saying, and even then too, even like myself, I still have trouble trying to add on that extra few seconds on there. But it's just knowing your stopping points, knowing if okay, if it's an extra 6 seconds that I have to add on, well, in these parts, I'm gonna add a pause and maybe just like a look and glare between these two
Mm-hmm.
spots just to fill up the time. But you just got to make sure it comes across organically and natural on screen. So then, like, nobody really notices, like, why did he pause? So weird. It's just in a random spot. You just got to know where you need to put it at. Also, if you're doing, let's just say, I don't know, beauty content, and you're really good at clipping the videos, I
Yeah.
would say maybe on a couple talk. talk on a couple, walk people through. So then you would very easily fill up that time frame. So it's just knowing how you can just like expand that time. So then you're not wasting time in a sense, on wasting other people's time with adding the extra time on to that.
Yeah. How did you know it was time to leave your 9 to 5, your regular job, and just go full in on content and photography?
Making that money. No, no,
That's
I would,
real. It's real.
no, for real. But I would say in all honesty, when I quit Starbucks, it was I already had like money saved up. Again, it was 2021, so I had money saved up just from me just saving up from Starbucks, also from TikTok a little bit. So I was like, you know what, I'm cool. I'll give it like I wanted to take a break from working because I was a shift lead and I was working like hardcore. Again, I don't know why I was working that hard at Starbucks, Starbucks, but I was working like hardcore where I would come in at like 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I didn't leave until like 6, 7
Yeah.
at night. So I was like, you know what? I'm taking a break. I don't want to work for at least about a month. You know what I'm saying? Give myself a month, month and a half off. But I seen that I was making a little bit more money on TikTok. So I was like, okay, I ain't gotta come back so soon. You know, we can wait a little
Let this
bit
ride
and
out a
then
little
that,
bit.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Let me just stretch a little bit longer. And that I feel like it just kept, you know, I just never went back. I thought about it even now. I'm like, because I think as being a creator or being in the creative space, you kind of gotta be realistic with yourself. And that's for all creatives. This field is very wishy-washy. So like you may be fine one day and the next day, you know what I'm saying, you might have to find a regular job. You know, you never know. So for me, I was just telling my friend the other day, I was like, you know, not saying I need a job. I was like, I wanted he works at like a creative studio and I was like, I would do like a day a week, one day a week. And he was
Yeah,
like, you don't
daily.
need to. I was like, I don't need to, but I was like, just like one day a week, I feel like if you're used to working
Yeah.
like a regular job and jumping into this, it can feel like you kind of, I wouldn't say not doing nothing, but not doing nothing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes total sense. Do you feel like some of the stability or security that you might have felt is has been stripped away?
um, what do you mean? Stability?
Having
Like you
I
feel like,
know a check is coming on Friday.
um, I would say in the beginning, yes. It was a little bit. I was like, we gotta push out some more videos. You know, we maybe been spending a little bit too
Yeah,
much,
yeah.
but um,
Cause it's now it's like it's on you. Cause like you can go to Starbucks.
mhm,
I know I can make these drinks. You pay me. I make more drinks. You pay me. I open the
yeah,
doors. You pay me. Now it's like okay, I gotta be funny. And if I
hmm
ain't funny, I don't get paid.
exactly,
It's on
I,
DeMarcus.
exactly. I think for me, it was. I think just knowing knowing now what I know about how to expand my money or save in the right capacity, I'm a little bit more comfortable now in a sense like, okay, I ain't got to worry as much. You know, even if I want to take a little bit of a break, I don't have to worry so much. But when I first started, it was more of like, I ain't never been in this life before. So, you know, if you grew up a certain type of way, you may look and be like, oh, I'm making a little bit of money. I'm finna start spending. And then you look up, ain't nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
So now, you know, I'm a little bit more comfortable on where I'm at. And if I, if I need to make a couple more videos, I'll push them out. But for the most part, I'm good right now.
What surprised you most about the business side of being creative? Like we always hear, like You know, there's the music business, but the word business is much longer than the word music. Like this is a business. And so content creation, when you're doing it like you're doing, is a business. Like what surprised you the most about the business side of this, whether it was learning how to work with brands or managing your money, kind of what you just talked about, or navigating social media algorithms. Like what surprised you most about this side of the game?
That you set your own standards,
Say
your
more. Say
full
more about
own
that.
standards. So, like, in let's just say you work a regular 9 to 5 job, you know, there you have, of course, all your managers. You have a certain way you need to do things, and what time your schedule is laid out for you, how you wake up in the morning, what time you go to bed. Everything is kind of already formulated. Whereas now, for my own standards, you know, and knowing that I set my own standards, you got to know, like, okay, I'm my own boss. I have to make a schedule for myself. When do I want to record? Also, okay, if I need to take time away from recording, you have to know, like, okay, when I come back, I got to push out the videos a little bit more, you know? Or working with brands, it can seem at first when I first started, just because they're paying me, just because they're paying you, you know what I'm saying? You could think, like, oh, they're kind of over me in a sense, because you have that mindset because you worked a 9 to 5, because whoever pays you is your manager,
Yeah.
you know. So you'll be thinking like, oh well, even though I set my rates, you know, they'll start being a little bit demanding, and then you got to remember and click back into it, like, wait, no, I'm my own boss. I'm the only one. I run this. So now you gotta, okay, no, I'm not gonna. After 2 rounds of videos that I done sent you, you're not getting a third, or you got to pay a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? So you kind of got to be a little bit. I wouldn't say rude, but a little bit stern with some of the brands and everything, just so you aren't being a pushover. They ain't pushing you over. You know what I'm saying? They can't really push you around to do different things, and some of them will. Some of them try to stretch that little few dollars that they're giving you, and you got to tell them, no, I want a little bit more. If you want 7 videos, I'm gonna need seven video money. You know.
Yeah. So let's say more about that. Like, are how do you decide who you're gonna work with brand wise, or do you, or if anybody got a bag, DeMarcus is down. Like, how do you determine who you're gonna work with?
It's just pretty much whoever goes good with my brand, and I think as creators, you got to know um what companies go good with what you create. So if let's just say, I don't know, because most of my videos I can kind of create a video around anything. So let's just say if you a beauty creator, and somebody about planting plants and flowers come to you and they like, hey, I would love for you to promote this. Even though it may seem decent, the video won't do good. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? Somebody may be like, I don't like this video. Why did you record this? Or why did you, they're going to know it's an actual promotion deal. So I think the best videos that you can create is the ones that people don't really know that it's an ad, because then they click back on it. They're like, wait, it's an ad. What's the product that he's even promoting? So knowing what brands works best with you, and also having a good team, either a manager or agent, somebody who is able to negotiate, and that know how you record and that knows your content as well. That helps a lot as like too. So
Yeah.
just knowing what really works best for you.
So many creators are dependent on these algorithms, which can switch up tomorrow. You know, how do you
Yeah.
future proof yourself? How do you make sure that, you know, no matter what happens to Instagram next week, I'ma still be good?
I would say, you never honestly really know. Just because I may post a video tomorrow and my video do good, and then I may post one the next day and it does horrible. The algorithm is ever changing online, even on TikTok. But I think, my bad if you hear my dog,
It's fine.
sorry.
It's all good. All good.
Um, but I would say just learning how to be adaptable in that situation or circumstance, not only with the algorithm, but also with your content and how you record. So, obviously, if you started off doing, like me, I started off doing dry humor content, and then I switched and started doing skits, and but my skits was more focused on school skits and teachers. And then I pivoted a little bit, and then I went into um, going to like life nuances inside of school, like looking at different people inside the school. And then I pivoted again to what you kind of see now, to the everyday life nuances of like different people. And every once in a while, I'll throw a little something like a curveball or something of like fashion or whatnot,
Yeah.
you know. But I think learning to change your content ever so slightly, you ain't got to change it a lot. So don't start off with basketball and then all of a sudden you singing on the next video and that's your whole it won't do as good. If the algorithm is already bad and you do that, then your content won't really fare as good.
Yeah.
At least from what I've seen. So your best bet is to, okay, let me adapt a little bit. If you see that it keeps happening with the algorithm, you just got to learn to adapt, switch it up a little bit. Maybe that'll push the algorithm a little bit more to push you out there. And if you need to do it a little bit more, do it a little bit more. But you never want to steer so far away from what you created first, just because the algorithm won't really know who you are at that point.
No, that. And finally, I think a lot about networking. Like you talked about, you've been doing these panels and things like that. How
Mhm.
or what role has networking played in your success to lead you to deals and collabs and things like that?
Because you build a partnership, you actually build a friendship with some of these brands and some of these people that you meet at these different events, and or honestly anywhere. Um, so if I do meet somebody from, I don't know, from like Dove at like a weird panel that I was out and about at the very moment, I'm not really focused on the partnership. I'm just getting to know that person that works for Dove,
Yeah.
you know. So building a relationship, building a friendship, building a foundation first with the person or the brand, I would say is a key component to future partnerships with that brand. Because if you built that foundation, let's just say at the very moment they don't have the budget that you have, you know what I'm saying, that you're saying that you want, or the rate that you're giving them, they don't have the budget to pay you. Well, you built that foundation, so later on when they have that budget, they're most likely going to pay you double of what you said in that rate, just because y'all built that foundation. You've always been very nice and sweet to them, so they're going to double that just because, and or you're going to be the first person they look for.
Actually, I want one more. So I think about, the kind of content you post and how some brands would be like, oh, he's talking about politics now, so we can't put him on. Like, how do you think about, or anything? I'm just made up politics, but how
Mhm.
do you think about, or do you think about, I can't talk about certain things because that will limit my opportunities, or I can only talk about these things because that will expand my opportunity. How do you think about, your ability to talk about whatever you want to talk about?
I think for my content, I try to keep it as clean as possible, just because there's no hiccups with brands. Like if they come back and say, "Oh, you talk about this," they don't, they won't, I guess, like just not work with me, if that's the right, even the right saying.
Yeah.
Um, But for my content, honestly, I keep it very cookie cutter friendly to where like I don't even mention no type of like world um political or even like I don't what's all the stuff I don't do? Political, religion, most holidays honestly because I just try to there's a lot of people that maybe don't celebrate a certain holiday because of this and that. So I leave some of those out. Um or even just like world affairs as far as like wars and stuff like that. I keep all that kind of out of my videos just because number one, if there is a war, there's people come to the internet number one to kind of escape that
Yeah.
and to kind of look at other people and to kind of laugh and get away from that. So they don't want to come directly on the internet and see like, oh, dang it, another creator talking about the war because there's billions of them that's going to be talking about it.
Yeah.
So me not talking about that's giving them a way out to just like, okay, finally, I could take a breather. Or if there's a lot of political stuff going on, they can come on there and take a breather. So when brands look at my page and they see like, oh, he ain't got nothing up there that's controversial, you know, he's kind of good for all sides. If they want to sell a product, it can reach all wide ranges of different areas of the world. There's nothing that can like stop it from going out. So that's how I do my content. Again, if you do make content on some of those matters, I would say limit the other portions then. So then, you know, it just ain't hurting you. But hey, you know, if you talk about all of them, more power to you. I'm not, because I will be subscribed so then I can listen.
DeMarcus, Shawn, such a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you for having me.
This was fun.